Let's do this. Thanks, everybody. I'm Ron Hanks. Welcome to the Q&A moderation. Come on over. Let's give the filmmakers a round of applause. You guys just grab microphones. We're live streaming this, so everyone's going to have this forever and always.
Oh, good.
What I want to do is go down the list. That is good. His is better than mine. I'd love to go down the row and have you introduce yourself and then which film you were with. And if there are any cast members or crew, I see a lot of faces out there. Could you introduce them really quick and we could applaud them at the end?
Sure.
All right, cool.
I'm Alexander Badria. I'm the writer-director of The Zim. And thank you. I have my cast here, Sean Baker, Tangai Chirisa, Constance Ejuma,
yes,
and Amanda Wing. And our producer, there you go. Yeah. That's an attractive bunch. And Will Barfield, our producer, our casting director, Jessica Sherman, and our EP, Maurice LaMarche.
Oh, nice. Give him a round of applause. This is the best part for anyone watching at home because they can't see you guys. It's just like, it's awesome. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Brian Sotheran. I directed Over and Out. Out there are Thomas Knoll, editor, and Bridget Marshall. She's an actress and producer, writer, and all of the above. Key craft service. And there's Jason. Jason.
Yeah.
Jason, what's your last name? What is it? Watkins. And new father as well. Jason Watkins, new father.
Oh, all right. Congrats.
Yeah.
Awesome. Next up.
David Maddox, Alternative Math.
Woo!
Then I've got with me three very important people. Malcolm Morrison, co-writer right there. If it was funny, he probably wrote it. Let's see. Liz Cardenas, who is the producer, but also the angry Fox News woman, and a big part of the reason this is SAG. And then Michael McCausland, who played the mom right out of Nazi Germany. And I believe Vice President of the Houston-Austin SAG. Is that correct? Yes. Okay.
Welcome, welcome.
My name is Marvin Niklaus. I directed Crossroads.
Woo!
And I have one cast member here, which is Joe Lopez. He's sitting in the back. If you can just stand up for a second. Stand up. Well, he doesn't want to. Yeah.
The therapist is here too.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even see him. See, he came late. We're hating.
All right.
Cool. I'm Teal Gray Havens, director of Contact.
Woo!
And we have several of our key players here. I write and direct everything. I'm half of the team. My co-creator, Nick Von Keller, is sitting back there. And they only had room for one chair, so we figured I was slightly more likely to have a mental breakdown on stage, which would be entertaining for all of you. And we also have our producer, Rachel Greenwald, who made the whole thing happen. And last but most, Leo Marks, who played Jason and was the film.
So for the last film that was young adult that you just saw, Jake Usna was going to be here. I don't believe he's with us, but we do have some people that are here that were a part of the show. The lead actress that played Annie is here in the corner. Could you give her a round of applause, please? She was so good. So incredible. Woo! And is there anyone else from that production that's here as well tonight? Oh yeah, who? Yeah. Oh yeah, awesome, absolutely. One of the other actors in the show. All right, awesome, all right. So we all loved it. So let's just get down really quick. We don't have too much time, but I'd like to go down the row here and let's talk about a little bit about the origination of the story. And we'll start with you. How did the story come to you, and how did it originate with you?
I had a friend who was living in Zimbabwe for a few years who had told me about the history of the farm invasions and what was going on there, or at least specifically what went on in the early 2000s as a result of colonialism. And around that time, and this is, that's the #1 question that you get any film festival, any interview, but the truth is, I'm a SAG-AFTRA member, and I was, as an actor, just looking for really great material to chew into. I wasn't looking necessarily to direct anything, just to write something, to create, to make, and produce. But, the more I started working on the script, the more clearly I saw it. And then I realized, well, if I'm going to take the swing to direct something, it might as well be this. 4 years later, shooting in, Africa for Thousand Oaks, or Thousand Oaks for Africa, rather, is not easy. So, yeah.
In more ways than one, that's true.
So, but that's, it came about to just a perfect marriage of themes, story, real life. This is the kind of stories that I'm interested in, actual historical events that are relevant to today, that I felt would be that would relate to an American audience but be somewhat detached to an American audience. And I trusted my instinct that people here, especially in the festival world, would find the story interesting and maybe find the story relatable, even though it was a different part of the world with a different history. And thankfully, people have been responding to it incredibly well.
Yeah, absolutely. And congrats on it as well.
Thank you.
Very good job. Next up, tell me a little bit about the origination of your piece.
So it's actually Bridget wrote it. She wrote it, and she's in an artist collective with Jason and Tom and our other producer Jeff, who can be here, but he's the spawn of Good Hair Productions. It's not me.
Great name, by the way. I love that.
And so she approached me. I had shot some like sketches for her sketch team, which were a lot of fun. And so she said, "Hey, I got this little thing, and want to do it." And I just thought it was, really lovely. Just two strangers kind of bearing all had a very interesting part. So, and the group kind of came together and then provided all the things that we needed, and we just kind of got together and met a lot of new friends and made it.
Nice. All right, alternative maths. It has nothing to do with current situation.
Not at all. So it kind of came from the frustration, I guess, of trying to have a conversation with someone when you can't even agree on like basic facts anymore. I guess that's probably the the initial frustration. And then a very helpful woman named Kellyanne Conway used the phrase "alternative facts," and I was like, "That's a great title." And so, so Malcolm and I were working on a feature script, and when you're stuck, you always procrastinate by writing something else, and you can convince yourself you're not procrastinating. So I was trying to think, I was like, what's the stupidest possible thing two people could be arguing about? And I was like, well, how about like what's 2 + 2? So I called Malcolm and said, what do you think about this idea? And he said, you're an idiot, but no. That's not really true. No, but and then I just sort of, we sort of passed it back and forth, and just like, how can something like that just like escalate and escalate until it's just completely ridiculous? So yeah, that was the origination of that, was the alternative facts, and I guess just kind of our current climate, you could say.
Nice.
I would say things are complicated. So I wanted to make a psychological thriller, and I've always been fascinated with like psychological disorders. Also, the origin of let me put it another way. So I think it's really interesting how we are fascinated or like have a lot of attention for current things that occur, like let's say an accident, everyone wants to see it, or like like there's child abuse and everyone wants to know about it, then you lock this person up who did that, and then we're all like, okay, justice, we're good, let's move on. But we don't really think about what happens to these people like 15 years from there. So I did a lot of research about this dissociative identity disorder, that this is my main topic there. And it's really interesting. I talked to psychologists and people with that disorder. They have actually Facebook groups. And one really interesting fact is that besides that it has the highest suicide rate in the world for any psychological disorders. Hollywood always portrayed that the wrong way, that they're the dangerous ones. Like, I don't know if anyone has seen Split. I'm not saying that's a bad movie, but they did say, hey, this guy's a psycho, or, you know, because he has that disorder. Matter of fact, 98% just, you know, commit suicide. They don't harm other people. And I wanted to basically break this into 3 layers, you know, kind of having it twisted. And, well, you know, it's basically like a lot of ideas coming together, and then you have just this huge pool and try to bring it all together in like 12 pages. Yeah.
Nice. All right, Tio, what about Contact? How did Contact come around?
Well, Nick and I don't have any money.
It's a room full of actors.
Which I'm sure is very
understand.
uncommon for actors and short filmmakers. Yeah. And so but you know, the nice thing is that we've arrived in this age with digital filmmaking where that's not really an excuse anymore to not, you know, go out and make things. And so we were starting with sort of, okay, what do we have? What can we work with? There's a lot of amazing locations around LA, obviously, is how Hollywood got started. And we also both have a love of high concept genre stuff. You know, we love sci-fi and thrillers and that kind of thing, which is often difficult for, you know, no money filmmaking. But I always liked the idea of, there's a certain school of sci-fi that's, you know, if you can create the idea of an alternate reality or something sort of high concept that's happening when what's on screen is just people standing around talking. I always think that's really cool. And the concept was Nick's originally, and it was just one out of many that we kind of latched onto, and then decided to go forward with it, and realized at a certain point that, like, dude, we need like a real actor for this. Like, this is not, if we don't find the right person, this thing is gonna tank hard. And and you know, through a windy road, we found Leo, and he made the whole thing happen.
Nice work, Leo. And we do have a room full of actors that are here, and I think one thing that we all are interested in is how you did cast this project, and did you hold auditions? Were these people that you already knew and you wrote for? Was it a roundabout way like he's saying, or was it truly a direct audition off LA Casting?
It was a mixture of things. I knew the first person, well, Amanda Wing is my wife in real life, so yes. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. We were engaged at the time, but that was pretty easy casting. Sean Baker, who played Matanga, him and I did Shakespeare off Santa Monica Boulevard maybe 10 years ago. So, and we still laugh about that experience. And I knew that I always wanted to work with him, so I knew he would be in it somehow. Initially, we were thinking about you for the other character, for William, if you remember. We read that, and then on a whim, I'm like, why don't you try the other guy? And that worked pretty well. And Tangai came to the project through the African Artists Association, I believe, and Constance came through Tangai, if I remember correctly. And so it just all came together. And by the way, we had them maybe 3 years before we actually filmed, so they stuck with it. They stuck with it.
Wow, that's awesome.
Through the crowdsourcing process. And then credit to Jessica Sherman, our wonderful casting director, sitting in the back. She'll be taking headshots after this event. She helped round out the cast with Carolyn Lagerfeld, who played the mother, and who was incredible. And all of the secondary characters who we really needed to feel authentic. I went through Jessica for almost everybody, just saying, what do you think, what do you think? And a lot of self-tapes. We did have a few sessions for the larger roles, and kind of screen testing type stuff. I don't like to say auditions, I mean, we played. And so, but everything.
Did you already have a relationship with that casting director before as an actor, or did you find her? How did you find the casting?
Oh, I've been bugging her for years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
No, yeah. So
Gotcha.
her and I were friends. She came up through April Webster's office, and I auditioned for April many times, and Jess and I just kind of became friends through that. And then I saw her career really rise, and honestly, I came to her hat in hand, and I said, look, I have this crazy ambitious project. I really don't have any money. It sounds like you might be perfect for this. And surprisingly, against her better judgment, she agreed to help. And
That's awesome.
I'll owe her forever for that.
But there's also a nice a bit of taking back some of your power there too, right? As an actor, because we are in front of casting directors all the time, and to partner with the casting director teaches you about their job and shows you that from their side of things, right?
Oh, 100%. And I would say anyone who hasn't had the experience of being a reader, please, find a way to get into the other side of a casting office. And I know there's a lot of people watching through YouTube. I mean, that's the most valuable piece of advice I can give for anyone who wants to be a working actor. Sit on the other side of that, of those auditions, and really experience what it is to see someone walk in and out of a room, and the energy they bring in and out, and how much of it is out of your control. Just being right for that job, or not right. And the only thing that's in your control is the work that you bring in and the confidence that you bring in. I know it's been said so many times that it's like beating a dead horse, but it's so true. And working with Jess really gave me that gift. And she's wonderful, and she loves actors, and she's incredibly generous. So, awesome. Yeah.
All right, thank you. That was good. That was good. What about you? How did you find your folks?
Well,
one of them was already a producer and writer. That was
she
easy.
wrote
right?
and produced it, so I couldn't say no there. And no, and why would I?
And Julia is your other actor.
Right? Yeah, Julia. And and they're all part of that artist collective, so there weren't auditions. It's just like, hey, so they're part of a group. What? They weren't. Oh, was that was before me though? All right. Oh, that's right. Yeah, and
some family issues that came up around the time when we were trying to get the production going. We did a few rounds within the collective of auditions. Brian was on board to be the cinematographer. We already loved his work and knew we wanted to work with him. And when I couldn't do it, we kind of switched roles, and I took on a small acting role, and we had kind of already moved through the casting process within the group. So Brian kind of got absorbed into what we already put together.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you.
Fell in. But to that point, I think that you were talking about everybody should know what it's like to go into a casting room and stuff like that, and to be on that other side. But this is that other world of, well, instead of doing that, just make something your damn self, as opposed to going in and putting your fate in someone else's hands, which I think I'm so lucky to get involved myself with these people, because that's exactly what they did. And I think that's so incredibly admirable. They're like, well, fuck it, I'd do this my own. And yeah, so that's another way to do it, YouTube.
Nice. Awesome. And for alternative math, how did you cast the main teacher? What is her name, by the way?
It's Alan Carroll is her name.
She was great.
So I've got a little indie studio in Dallas that we have a casting company that works out of there a lot named Buffalo Casting. And when I told them this, again, I'm surprised when I told people this idea about this film, they weren't just like, what the hell, but I told them about the idea and they got it and they're like, yeah, let's have auditions. So they set the whole thing up. We did auditions. I got a lot of, I saw a lot of great people, and then we did callbacks so we could read people against each other, because with comedy, it's not just like this actor's good, this actor's good. It's like these actors are good as a group, or these actors are good together. So we did that back and forth, and yeah, that was it. It was surprisingly kind of simple process that went very smoothly, and the results were, everybody was great. So comedy doesn't work if the actors can't, especially a premise like that. If the actors can't ground it in reality, then it just doesn't work. It's just stupid. You know what I mean? So everything, yeah. But yeah, in general, I think comedy acting is one of those things that's like, I don't know how actors do it, because it's your characters don't know they're in a comedy. You know what I mean? For the characters, they're in a drama. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? But the actors have to know they're in a comedy, so it's like they still have to do all the stuff they do for drama acting, but some part of their brain has to know, kind of be an audience, I guess. You guys have to tell me how the hell you do it. I don't know, but it's like, it's crazy when you get good comedy actors that can like play the drama and still sense the timing and everything you do for comedy and make that work. But I was just really fortunate to have great cast that actually made this crazy premise work.
And I know your lead actor is back there, who was just wonderful. Again, you just blew my mind. But your lead female actress was incredible too. Those tears, it's like she had a water hose hooked up to her eyeballs, and just, it was just so powerful. How did you cast both of them?
So first, I wanted to get a casting director. And then I looked at my wallet. I was like, well, never mind. Guess it's just me.
I heard that.
Well, yeah, so... Yeah, when I started the casting process, I think I realized how many actors there are actually in town here, because it's insane. Like backstage, I think I had like 1,000, like, you know, people that wanted to get this lead role for female, especially female lead roles are like crazy here. Basically, I think I invited almost 150 to 170 people to my auditions over a week, and it was completely overbooked, and I felt really sorry, and I made a big mistake because you
couldn't get through them all.
Well, I did get through them all, but usually you try to give everyone enough time. But sometimes when you actually see in the audition, hey, it just doesn't work out, and you have a feeling, then you cannot like give more notes and like explore more. But sometimes you just have someone sitting there, and you just feel like there's that person understands what I'm looking for. And then you like try different takes, different versions and all that. And I'm like not looking for like a performance, but I'm giving like different sides. For example, for Aubrey Reynolds, who played the lead role, I gave her the sides for Aubrey, for Karen, and then for Matthew as well. And I wanted her to perform both sides basically. And then yeah, so she got on. She was amazing. She blew me away. I just saw it and was like, it made click. And it was just her expression that was like, it's not the words or like how she's like physically acting. It's like her eyes, and it's like the one that in the last shot when she's looking straight in the camera and she changed her expression. That's like what she did in the audition. I was like, all right. How much do you want?
There were no words to that. That's what's incredible about that. It's just truly internal.
Exactly, yeah, it's true. You know that you have to feel it, and there's only so much as a director you can give an actor as material, but you have to feel it, and that's yeah. And then Joe Lopez back there, it was interesting. He actually sent me a audition tape, and I just saw his face first. I mean, gotta be honest, I was like, holy moly, I need this guy. And he came all the way from San Diego actually for a callback. I liked his audition tape. He was just going in a different direction, but he has his own interpretation, which was great. And then we, shifted it from there. Funny thing is, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but he was in acting school for about 7 years, an amazing acting coach, and he never really acted, or he had no reel, he had no headshots, he had nothing, no IMDb. I couldn't do any research. So I actually reached out to her acting coach. She really liked the script, so she gave me free consultation and told me how to trigger him.
Wow.
So I think that was key of the process.
Awesome. Yeah. That's great. For Contact, you said that you came about a roundabout way. Just tell me, how did you know that he was the one? Is there a way to say for Contact that was, you knew that he was one? He knew that it was one for his, but how about yours? How did you know he was one? Or no, for Teal.
Oh, sorry.
For Contact, yeah.
You can tell your story too.
No,
I'm sure we
like
all have them. Yeah.
The face had you at first.
Yeah, exactly. I'll say this. It took a while to get to Leo. There's a thing that happens when you put the many moving parts of a production in motion, and casting is one of them. I think this often happens where, because everything is moving, you're like, we're making this movie, you audition. I mean, we auditioned lots and lots of people, and you arrive at sort of people that are like, I think that could, and something that we've learned is that, especially for something like this, where it's like almost a one-man show, we just had to follow our gut and be like, I don't think we have it yet, man, and so we sort of paused, and ultimately we got connected with Leo through a theater company that he's involved with called Antaeus. Leo is a very active theater performer. You should go see everything that he's in. And I just wanted to say also about casting for ours that, the other thing that we did was that we took, and I would urge all filmmakers to do this. I think it's true more often than you'd think. Ours is obviously very minimalist. It's very just, people sit in a field. It's very high concept. So we could easily tell that we could cast anyone in this, meaning any gender, any age, any ethnicity, any gender pairing. We put out a completely open call. We didn't write it with two guys in mind. It was just one of those things where we were like, let's embrace the way that we want to see movies be made. Like this can be anybody, and we want it to be the people who are best for the role. And yeah, Leo was clearly perfect for Jason, and Holger, who plays David, wanted to be here tonight but couldn't make it, I think. So
I appreciate that. Well, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
I thought very quickly, I just said I would throw this in. One of the things, maybe this is helpful to some actors out there. One of the reasons Alan got cast as the teacher is because when we watched the playback, we watched what she did when she wasn't saying lines. So she'd be in scenes with people, and a lot of people can say lines and be funny, but like her reactions to what the other actors were doing were so good, and that's like what that character needs, is to like react to this insanity that's happening to her. So yeah, always keep that in mind. It's not just about having the lines and saying the lines. It's about being, and I know everybody knows that, but I mean, it's just something to keep in mind that like we really honed in on, like we would just watch her face while other people were talking just to see what she was doing, and we were like, yeah, that's her.
One of the last things we have to wrap it up here. I'll just go off the rails for a second. A lot of us are actors in here, and we look for vindication by winning roles. So like when we get a role, we feel vindicated. We feel like, okay, the years of study or the years of practice is worth it. We were talking earlier about how for filmmaking, how do you find your vindication or your reward, or your how do you know when you are a success as a filmmaker?
Is anybody here a success as a filmmaker? I'm just not really.
I would say you all are pretty successful filmmakers, because that was incredible. And this is
define success, right? Yeah.
I can say from my perspective as an actor who's been toiling for over years, I've been fortunate enough, especially in recent years, to land some really nice jobs in some popular shows. Nothing I've done has compared to the feeling of serving story and the root of what got me doing all this, this life's pursuit in the first place, than writing and creating my own material. Nothing beats collaborating, butting heads against the editor and the composer and the cinematographer, and working together like summer camp to try to make something out of nothing. No role, and I can't ever imagine that any part would ever provide, no matter how plumb, the feeling of just creating something off the page, and then initially nothing being on the page. And when you're on set, you realize those words that I wrote, here we are, It's an incredible feeling, and it's a spiel that I've given many friends to the point where they really don't want me to say it anymore. But you absolutely have to make your own stuff, not just because it could potentially lead to success or recognition, but because it's the only way to really serve the kind of stories that in your heart are yours to tell. Because no one can see the image that you have of yourself as an artist and a performer with such clarity as you. And if you create that piece, and I know each one of us in here has that role that we just wish people would see us for, or see us as, and would create for us. It's probably not going to happen, but that's a really liberating thing to know, because that means it's your responsibility to do it. There it is. It's just you. If you don't do it, nobody else will. And I think that can be pretty motivating. And really wonderful things can happen, including, for me, these friends that I've made through this process who were crazy enough to stick with me. And they're friends for life and collaborators for life. And these are people whom I will always have a connection with because of this process. And I wish that for everybody. I really do. So.
Okay, just briefly, anything to add? They're giving me the wrap-up sign, but I'd love to just hear a quick 1-minute summary of your life. Here we go.
I just ditto what you say. I mean, success is just is relative. Success in my day job, it doesn't compare to that moment. Success as a filmmaker would be when we're shooting on set and have created an environment where you can get a very truthful moment from one person to another that is poignant, and it makes the hair on the back of your neck stick up, and you feel like you've kind of touched on some sort of relationship and some sort of, I don't know, emotion. I think that's success enough. You know, the bank does not agree, but
yeah, gotcha.
You know, whatever. You know, I think that would be my extent of a successful filmmaker, is making something happen. Yeah,
that's awesome.
I guess one of the interesting things about comedies are just the nature of filmmaking. It takes so long to write and rewrite and cast and shoot 1,000 times and edit for a month. By the time, literally, when you're done with it, you watch and you're like, "Is this funny?" I have no idea, you know, because you've seen it. I know what joke is funny if you could just keep hearing it over and over. So, and I always say that, like, I don't know, if you make a drama, you can get a B-, you can get a C. A comedy, you get an A or an F, basically. You know, so. You show up to your first screening and you're just like, oh my God, you know, like, are people gonna laugh? What's gonna happen? And so, like, one of the best feelings of, like, success, I guess, is when you sit down in that audience for the first time. I mean, like, that's what's great about a public setting versus, you know, watching it at home alone or something like that, is like, when people are laughing at the right places, you're like, okay, they're getting it. And, you know, the first time they showed this, when we came up with the ending and people started applauding the ending, we're like, whoa, okay. We thought it was a decent ending, but yeah, so, like, that's one of the most rewarding things possible, is just to see it with people and just realize you shared it with them and they connected with it and they got something out of it, and you moved them in some way.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I would agree what he just said. But,
we didn't laugh a lot at yours, though. There was not a lot of laughing at that one.
I mean, I think success as a filmmaker is to finish a project in the first place.
Yeah, true.
I mean, that sounds really simple and like, I don't know, but like, I don't know how many people in this room worked on projects that you've never seen later. And it's like, what happened to it? It's like, well, it's in post, you know. It's like, what does that mean, you know? And you know, it's like, hey, this is for your reel. You get it later, but you never get it, and you know, you work for free, and it's like frustrating. And I worked on a crew. I'm not only directing, but also doing other things. And you know, when you already do it for free or like a low budget, then you know, at least give us the film. And then, of course, once the film is done, I don't think it's about like awards or anything like that. It's all subjective. What is not necessarily only just subjective is like the audio. Well, it is subjective, but like the overall audience reaction when you sit in the movie theater, and when do they laugh? When do they like get scared? When it's just quiet? When do people like look on their phone? Like, you know, this happens. Like as a filmmaker, you kind of like pay attention more when you like watch your own film, and you kind of like, you know, see how people react, and that, you know, you learn a lot from that. I think more so than reading a textbook or yeah.
And Teal, take us home, baby. Take us home.
Well, yeah, Nick and I are not successful, but we have many things in the works that could make us successful if there are any very wealthy producers in the room. But no, I would say the easy and straightforward and true answer is, you know, getting to be part of things like this, seeing it up on the screen, you know, hearing people react. That's obviously wonderful. But I think the part that is most exciting or inspiring is when you get every project starts as just a thing in a room, just, you know, one person or the two of us just like, this is the idea. And then the more people that you add, each of them, if you're, you know, collaborating with the right people, shows you something new. You know, it's the process of going through the script with Leo and having him, you know, call us out on a couple of lines, and we go, oh yeah, shit, we could make that better, you know, and making the thing progressively better because of all the smart people that are working on it. That's, you know, the collaborative filmmaking process.
All right.
That's all I got.
Well, I would definitely let you guys know that you're all a success in our minds, and yeah. You old slugger, you. You don't even have an accent, do you? That's
acting, my friend.
Yeah, acting. There were a lot of films, hundreds of films that were submitted to the showcase, and you guys were awesome. And I think it's a success that you were chosen, and congratulations. We wish you the best in the future. Thank you guys so much for coming. I'm Ron Hanks. Till next time.
Thanks for having us, man.